This is Ed Lawrence, and he spent the last couple of years building his YouTube channel called Film Booth up to 370,000 subscribers and averaging around 100,000 views per video. Now, he quit all of that to actually start his own YouTube channel, which is doing 70,000 subscribers and is doing a lot less average views per video than his last channel. And why would he do that? Well, it all really comes down to this graph. And this is the growth of YouTube channels over the past couple of years. And you can see there's a massive explosion of growth from 2022 to 2023, from 51 million YouTube channels to 114. And that kind of goes straight into his specific niche. And in his niche of growing your YouTube channel, there's gamers, entrepreneurs, hobbyists, and a ton of other different groups that fall under that grow your YouTube channel group, right? And everybody is competing for views. And as competition grows, it gets harder and harder to keep up with YouTube and much more difficult to spend your time if you're just focused solely on views. Now, most YouTube channels optimize only for views, only covering problems that appeal to the quote mass market. And this can be kind of shown in the crossover zone on the left, top left. Everyone's kind of competing for the same eyeballs, same attention on that simple space, right? And that's kind of where all of the problems of all the different groups overlap. And a lot of the different problems that pain a specific group, so like let's say entrepreneurs, they're trying to build a business on the back of their YouTube channel, and none of those problems get covered, right? Since they don't really appeal to a wide percentage of the market, like hobbyists, they don't have that problem. People who do faceless and YouTube automation channels, they don't have that problem. And Ed's approach was really different from a lot of people's, right? Because he wanted to run a business on the back end of his YouTube channel, he catered to those entrepreneurs who were running a YouTube channel who wanted to grow their YouTube channel. And when you specialize in something like that, you really differentiate yourself from the market by covering all those different problems that really don't get ever covered because everyone else is competing for the views, competing for the impressions. Now, this is really where the opportunity comes in, is this, instead of competing in the crossover zone, Ed is competing in the opportunity zone. And this is the real opportunity that we have in this day and age with YouTube, is people running businesses on the back of end of their YouTube channel really can cash in on this concept here and really become a leader in their niche. So instead of going wide and shallow in the crossover zone, he went narrow and deep in the in his own niche, right? So he went narrow and deep, and thus attracting the right audience in a crowded market, getting less views but higher quality leads for his business, leading to higher conversion and more sales. And that's really the fundamental reason why he stopped his YouTube channel. He was competing way too much for views, way too much for impressions, and really didn't have any time to run a business on the back end. So I also wanted to talk about how he structures his videos, and then also the sales copy on his landing page so that you could learn how to convert your audience into business clients. And so his video structure really boils down into content units, right? So a simple content unit is as so. Number one, you hook them, so you get them to redirect their attention. Number two, you retain them, so you get them to consume the information. And then number three, you reward them, so you satisfy their reason to consume it. For the hook, you get them to redirect their attention. Typically, it's short, punchy, and introduces a problem, and it serves the viewer, again, to redirect their attention from whatever they're doing towards us. And in this video that I broke down, his hook was, did you think the more that you post to YouTube, the more you'd eventually make? Well, that is a lie. And so the person viewing this probably has this belief, and it drives curiosity inside of the viewer, saying as to, why is that? Why is the more that I post to YouTube, the more I wouldn't eventually make, right? And again, it's short, punchy, it's a bold claim, it's a big promise, and then it's also belief breaking. So people want to know why and what's next. And the next part is retain. So get them to actually consume the information. And you really accomplish by driving curiosity and also using list steps, simplifications, and also stories. So first, list and steps, right? So list and steps are really just more content units, right? So you could see here that you have the content unit here, and this is the overall video right here, this whole content unit. So this is a claim, and then you have different lists and steps. So what Ed does really well is that he chunks his videos up. So you'll have one chunk here, and this whole chunk right here is a list. So you can see myth 1 here, and he goes through different myths. So throughout the claim, you'll have different myths. So myth 1, myth 2, and then myth 3. And then all of these myths really drive curiosity inside of the viewer, and they want to know what's next, right? So what's the next myth, and then what's the next myth? And then from there, he kind of closes it out and rewards them. The next thing he does really well is simplification. So he uses a lot of visuals like these. So the pot in the pan, it's kind of boiling water and then steam's coming up. And it's a great analogy for his concept, which is warm audience depletion. Again, a visual graph here. It's a great visual aid to understand money over time. And then more visuals to understand conversion rates and also to help them understand warm audience depletion even more. Now, this is great because it caters to all of the audience. So there's going to be beginners, intermediates, and then pros watching his video. So people who are beginning to grow their YouTube channel, people who are intermediate at growing your YouTube channel, and then there are going to be professionals who are growing your YouTube channel. And all of them can actually watch this video because it's appealing to everyone, right? So typically, it would just be kind of like pros and intermediates who understand this concept of warm audience depletion. But with the simplification, even beginners can actually understand it as well. So he includes a lot of different people into his mix by simplifying everything. And again, driving views and driving retention. And then the last thing that he does really well is that he provides stories. So inside of his small content units, so the myth 1, myth 2, myth 3, he includes stories which are great because they, 1, trigger curiosity. Number 2, usually have a lesson behind them. 3, they create uniqueness in your brand because these stories are unique to you. And then 4, they make complex ideas simple and relatable. So all these different things, the list steps and the stories, and then the simplification work together to retain someone over time, thus increasing the average view duration of your video. And then number 3 is to actually reward the consumer and the viewer, right? So satisfy the reason to consume. And a great way to think about this for your content unit as a whole is to think of value per second versus seconds of value. Once you kind of get to a certain point, there's a lot of diminishing returns on how long your video is, right? Because once it gets to a certain level, it gets too overwhelming, and then people drop off. People, it gets too boring, and people don't get that value anymore, right? So it's really summed up really well by Alex Hormozi, and it's how good your content is depends on how often it rewards your audience in the time it takes them to consume it. And that is from $100 Million Leads, and that's a picture of Alex Hormozi. So that was content units as a whole, and that's how he kind of structures his videos to be so retaining and also provide great information. And next, we're going to go over how he converts his engaged audience now into clients for his business. And that is through his sales copy. So he has a landing page. It's on his YouTube description, his YouTube link in his bio, all that stuff. You would click on it, but the main concept here is to tell how his origin story. So tell the origin story of how the system, how the process was created. And it's important because it gives the audience a reason to care why this system is important and relevant to them. So without this, your audience will not respect, use, internalize, or pay attention to really what you're saying. It's just like back in school when a teacher was teaching a subject you weren't interested in. They go straight into teaching the content without revealing the overall strategy and the overall story as to why these subjects are important and relevant to your future. So what this does is it really primes or engages people into believing you. And this also kind of leverages the fact that stories are great because they, again, trigger curiosity, have a lesson behind them, create uniqueness in your brand, and then make complex ideas simple and relatable. So diving right in, he has it's structured very similar to the content units. So it has the hook in the beginning. I thought YouTube was going to be a piece of cake when I first started. He kind of introduces the origin story. But after pumping out 3 videos a week for 18 months, I've virtually nothing to show for it. I'd study every resource I could find, YouTube gurus, social media growth strategies, technical analysis of the algorithm, you name it. Nothing worked. At this point, I was about ready to give up. So now he introduces the problem. The problem was every piece of advice I was following was wildly outdated. And that's why I only had 8,000 subscribers after a year and a half of hard work. So I knew that I had to try something completely different to stop wasting my time. So I said goodbye to keywords, regular posting schedules, and trying to rank videos in search. And tried a marketing strategy that generates over $1 trillion for businesses each year. So again, he introduces the mechanism, which is his marketing strategy, this mysterious marketing strategy that he introduces, and then also proof. So proof that this thing works is that it has generated over $1 trillion for businesses each year. And then he kind of writes an interviewer, so I'll tell you all about it in a minute. In that way, it kind of drives the curiosity and the viewer wants to know what's next. Long story short, this new method grew my channel to 180,000 subscribers in months. And then this is proof that that's happened, but it's still taking too much time. So he introduced another problem. I'd finally gotten to a point where I could make a living with my YouTube channel, but only by working 15 hours a day. So he introduces that he was working way too much. And he starts talking about pluses and negatives, right? So plus, he could finally make a living with his YouTube channel, but negative, he was working too much time. So knowing this constant grind would cause me to burn out, I tried to find a solution to grow my following and income using less of my time. And I made a critical discovery. 20% of the task you do, get 80% of the results. And if you know about the Pareto principle, that's essentially what it is. So I combined this principle with the marketing strategy that was skyrocketing my channel, and it worked. I was able to make fewer videos while my channel kept growing, and my turnover doubled. All things that the viewer would like, right? To make fewer videos, have a channel that's still growing, and then also in growing revenue, doubling revenue. And what was even more incredible was I suddenly had more free time than I knew what to do with. I could travel around the world, work anywhere, go out with friends, and spend quality time with my family. I never had this kind of freedom before. But I had one thing on my mind: would this work for others too? And this is kind of positioning himself as a helper, a giver, and it's kind of like a likability thing. So I turned my new plan into a series of step-by-step systems and started to test it with other YouTube creators. All they needed to do was 3 simple things: learn the theory, copy my systems, focus on the 20% of the tasks that get 80% of the results. So it's simplification. If you know anything about YouTube, YouTube is not simple. You have to learn packaging, thumbnails, titles, how to speak to a camera. It's very, very complex skills you have to learn to actually master YouTube. And in this, he's just simplifying it, making it easier to digest for the viewer. And they didn't just work, they were life-changing. So before I show you exactly how to do it yourself, check out a few of the results creators had that exploded their channels and income. So this is proof. And then moving on to the next part, this how to actually succeed on YouTube without wasting time. The secret to cutting down your workload while continuing to grow your channel is simple. Identify the tasks that get results, focus all your energy on those tasks, and then ignore everything else. Again, simplification. The best way to do that is to spend years of trial and error figuring out what works and what doesn't. But luckily, you don't have to because I've already done it for you. My YouTube growth system is a complete guide on how to ignore time-wasting tasks and only take actions that move the needle for growth. Not only that, once you apply the system to your own channel, you'll quickly develop a playbook that you can give your team members and have them do the work for you. Suddenly, your channel is growing and printing money faster than you can spend it. So all pluses, things that people or the viewer or the ideal client would like, right? So how to ignore time-wasting tasks, how to not spend years of trial and error figuring out what works and what doesn't, how to apply the system to my own channel and develop a playbook so that you could outsource it. And then having a channel that's growing and printing money. Apply for my program today so you can learn one system that gets you amazing results and 5 key growth and income generating places at once, grow your channel faster and gain more leads and sales in a way that takes you less time, discover how to make videos people binge watch so you can boost credibility and lead your niche, become an authority figure to increase your popularity and clout, take your content and storytelling to another level, and then increase your growth, sales, quality, credibility, viewer retention, and channel visibility. And then the last one, generate endless amazing ideas. With time, it becomes easier and faster. This makes your life simpler and increases the value quality of your work. And the best part, you don't have to take my word for it. Just look at what some of my recent students have done. So again, proof, increasing the perception that if the viewer would buy this program, that they would have great success. And that's simply what copy is. So sales copy, it's showing them what the dream outcome is and expanding that gap so that they want to get there, right? So expanding that dream outcome, making it more likely that they think that if they buy this product, they'll have a great likelihood of achievement. So providing proof. Time delay, making it so that they seem it'll be fast, and also effort and sacrifice that they'll make it sound easy. So he really does that in the simplification as well. So you want to talk about plus plus, which is more good stuff, minus minus, less bad stuff, and then action base, when you don't buy our thing, plus minus, you will get more of the bad stuff, and then minus plus, you will get less of the good stuff. Think like direct access to me, you'll know what tasks to work on, things of that nature. And this is all from Alex Mosey, how to write kind of like sales copy type of stuff. So hope this really helps. I know that it'll be super helpful. And also if you're interested in more like how to set up a info business, all that type of stuff, I have this video from Charlie Morgan that shows how he does $1 million plus per month with his info business on YouTube. So hope that helps. See you on the next one. Peace.